following announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
Music today. This is a bitch fest here about that crap we saw on Saturday. The fix was in. It was 100% fixed.
You know what grinds my gears? We kicked their ass always.
Good evening. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Couchcasters podcast, the March Madness edition. We're going to be breaking down the brackets, giving everybody our opinions on our obvious perfect bracket that we're about to have, because we know so much about all this stuff. So anyway, I'm Jeff, your host. There's Parker, Murphy, Fonz, Cam. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the show. How you guys doing?
Hello.
Yeah, roll tide on the SEC championship. Oh, shoot. We got a special guest, man. Hang on. I got to bust my dude in here. Nick. Oh, my man Nick's in. Everyone, this is I got to do an official intro here in his Auburn shirt. He is an Auburn fan on the show, but this is my podfather, my dude, my homeboy Nick from Podcast of the Wheels, part of the Streaming Star Wars Network. Force Connect in the house. What's up? But he came on here to talk a little basketball. He's going to take a lane out of Star Wars and talk some basketball with us. So, Nick, everyone, what's up, dude?
I feel like the only appropriate thing is you've probably never had an Auburn shirt proper on your show. So if I don't bring anything else to this in this few minutes that I have with you, it's a little bit of representation. Like, that's all I've got. And it may not get me very far, but it's all I've got.
Hey, I got you a home game in Birmingham as a 9 seed, losing the first game of the tournament, losing the last game, or one of the last 2 games of the season, and they gave you a home game on the weekend. Congrats, man.
Classic Auburn fan, not complaining. We'll take it.
Not complaining. Nor should you, because, hey, man, you just take what the tournament gives you. That's all.
Underdog City, baby. That's how we roll.
That's it. So to start this off, then we're going to bring in. We're going to start off in your region. Then you got Auburn and Iowa. I know nothing about Iowa, I'll admit, but I did pick Auburn in this game because I think the SEC is a better league. So I'm sure you picked Auburn. You had to have picked Auburn.
I did pick Auburn for sure.
Everybody else, what about you, Parker?
Ooh, let's see. Okay. Did we just do the Auburn Iowa game?
Yeah, we started with Auburn, Iowa.
Gotcha.
Nick's only got a few minutes, so I wanted to get.
I got you. So
start with his team.
8-9 game. I actually picked Auburn in this game. I think they, if they get that fire about them, which we've seen them play their best game was against us in the Iron Bowl at the end of the year. If that Auburn team comes out to play, they have a good chance in being very competitive in this tournament. It just depends on which team shows up. So I picked Auburn in that game.
Agreed. Murph.
I actually just changed my vote just because I like the idea of Auburn having to face Houston if they beat Iowa.
Yeah.
All right. I love that idea.
It works. What about you, Fonz?
I had Auburn.
Yeah.
For no other reason than conference supremacy, and it is a home game.
They had good players.
Yeah, they will be
some good players.
And I'm not huge.
Birmingham's huge.
So.
What about you, Cam?
I have Auburn winning. No offense to our Auburn friend on the podcast here, but I think it's kind of BS that they got the Birmingham draw. Good for them. But the reality of it is it basically gives them a home game, and they're the 9 seed. I'd be pissed if I were Houston and then having to face them in the second round.
Yeah.
It's just and it really stinks for us as well, because it kind of takes kind of the home court advantage away from us a little bit too, because you're going to have more Auburn fans trying to buy that allotment. Like I said, in our text group, Alabama earned their way to play in Birmingham. Auburn got placed there specifically because it was a money grab or an opportunity for the NCAA to get some tickets sold. So,
brilliant.
That's on it. I think Auburn is a good team, though. Even though they didn't play like it all the time this season, they're a team that can still – they have the ability, they have the coaching staff to give them an opportunity to make a run. So, Auburn for me.
And I agree with every point you made. And as a lifelong Auburn fan, or at least since 1989 when I moved to Alabama, this year even, like, we were kind of mercurial. We were up and down. We had some moments where I thought we were supposed to be better than this, and then we fell off. And by the time tournament time came around, like, I had kind of checked out a little bit, like, as we got to the end of the season. And I checked in on the Alabama game. I checked in on, Kentucky back last month, some little things here and there. But by the time we got to bracket time and somebody was like, yeah, we're a 9, I went, wait, we're a 9 and we're in Birmingham? Like, I was surprised by both of those things. Call it classic Auburn underdog syndrome. Like, I'll take that too and own that. But, like, this is where we are, and I hope it gets us somewhere. But it's, I don't disagree with the things you said.
I have no doubt they were going to be in the tournament. That y'all were going to be in the tournament. I didn't know the seating and the location, but 9 and in Birmingham, I was like, beating Tennessee. I mean, that just that was a really good win because the SEC tournament result didn't matter apparently. I mean, it mattered for us. I think it boosted us into the 1 seed. The fact that several teams lost in their conference tournament final and we won, I think that helped boost us. But y'all playing in the tournament, had y'all won the tournament, it would have mattered. But just losing the first game, wasn't a big deal, and it shows in the seeding. Yeah, but well done. So, all right. So then, obviously, I think we all have Houston advancing in the in that 1-16 matchup. Even though the last ranked team Houston played was us back in December. I guess the American Athletic Conference isn't churning out juggernaut basketball programs apparently outside of Houston, but so that's a cool matchup in the second
80s. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's right. But that would be a cool matchup on Saturday, or I meant on Sunday, Auburn and Houston. Or will that be Saturday night? That'll be Sunday, right?
Saturday, because
Saturday, because y'all play Thursday evening. So yeah, that'll be Saturday night. The Auburn, if Auburn wins and Houston wins, Auburn-Houston will be Saturday night. Hopefully that'll be a nice environment. Hopefully some Auburn fans will show up and pack it out for Auburn. That'd be a cool environment. All right, down to the U and Drake. I hate the Drake.
Well done.
I had Miami.
I did too.
Agreed.
I didn't even think twice. Miami. I just went with went with the U.
Just a gut.
Anybody take Drake? Anybody roll the dice on Drake? The 12-5
upset here? That's not your classic 12-5. Not that one.
No, I agree. There might be a difference in the Miami and the Drake team in terms of athleticism.
Slightly.
All right, Indiana, Kent State. I believe I had Indiana winning that game.
Big time.
Indiana as well.
Indiana, big time.
And I had Indiana.
I'm the only person that picked Kent State in this one.
Really?
I was just gonna say I like.
Go ahead, share.
Bit, but I chose Indiana.
So I don't know much about Maction basketball, but
Maction.
I will say there's always I know that the 12-5 and 11-6 matchups always tend to create an upset somewhere, but the 13-4 matchup has also kind of been one of those games that you never really know. And I don't know. I had to pick an upset somewhere in the bracket, and so I think that's the one that I went with. I don't really have a big reasoning behind it, but hopefully Kent State, the Golden Flashes, win it.
That's fair. All right, so Iowa State and the Mississippi State Pitt winner. I actually had Mississippi State winning this game, so that means I obviously had them winning the play-in game, and then I had them winning
as well, actually.
Advancing.
As do I. I said it earlier to you in the week, Jeff. Their defense is, it's one of the best in the country. It's just if that offense shows up. So we'll see what happens. But I had Mississippi State in the play-in game and beating Iowa State.
I think I had the all SEC teams winning their first game. There's just grinding through that SEC, man. That toughens you up.
Mm-hmm.
I had Pitt.
Oh, of
beating
course. The
Mississippi State
Yinzer.
and beating Ohio State. Yeah.
The Yinzer takes Pitt. I knew that was happening.
It's
You haven't
been a
beaten
while.
Xavier,
It's
so
been a
you
while
haven't
since
beaten
they've
Iowa
been
State
there,
then, right?
so, yeah. They're going to the round of 32. But
There we go.
Nice.
Well, so I don't, I've also got the Mississippi State Pitt over Iowa State, and I'm sure we'll talk about it a little bit later. But I've actually got whoever wins that game, and I don't know who will. But either of those teams, I actually have them beating Xavier in the second round and making it the Sweet 16. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah,
I did not.
I
had Xavier winning.
So Pitt struggled really bad towards the end of the season this year, and Mississippi State can't shoot the basketball. But Mississippi State's got one of those teams that they are so relentless defensively that they can really give some teams a hard time.
Yeah.
And, this isn't like the normal, I guess. I mean, I guess Xavier's a 3 seed, but I just don't know that much about him this year. So I think Mississippi State could give somebody some trouble, and I've kind of got them, not Pitt. But, I think Pitt could also probably create some problems.
Yeah. We have whoever beaten Iowa State, though. I think we all have that.
Yeah.
A&M, Penn State.
TCU.
Nick, what did you have for A&M, Penn State?
I've actually got Penn State on this one.
Oh, Nittany Lions.
Going with the 10-7. I don't have a lot to base that on other than early rounds. I like closer upsets than I do some of the bigger ones most of the time. I'm not usually a 12-5 guy, but, something like a 7-10, I can see that working. There's a little – obviously the rankings are all very subjective, but, this was just one of the ones that I felt like close enough and I thought I'd gamble on.
Penn State, I know, made it to the conference final of the tournament. I can't remember who they played in the final, though, from the Big Ten, whoever it was. Indiana, maybe?
Purdue.
Yeah, Purdue. Okay, Purdue, that's right. Duh.
And I'd just like to say, while we're kind of on this topic, first of all, I think this is going to be one of the best games to open up the tournament. Penn State, I don't think they're great, but they did play very well against Purdue and played well in the Big Ten tournament. And A&M, I think, got screwed in the seeding in general.
Yeah.
I mean, Tennessee went 11-7 in the conference, and they're a 4 seed. And A&M finished second, to us by only a game. It's thrown in there as a 7 seed. And I've heard some people talk about last year they were so angry about not making it after making it all the way to the conference tournament championship that they went on like a big PR circus, and supposedly it might have pissed people off in the tournament and or like the tournament committee, and they got shafted as a result of that. But I think that A&M team has a ton of potential. I know we beat them pretty bad on Sunday, but that team is scary. They always make their free throws.
Yes.
They fouled a ton, and something about they defend without fouling, and so there's always this huge free throw disparity with them. And I think that could be one of those things that you really have to worry about in the tournament. I think they could actually go really deep.
Agreed with that statement.
Texas.
I agree too.
I had them playing Texas later on that one.
Yeah.
Hunter. I agree with Cameron's statement. The beginning of the season for A&M wasn't the best, but they really started figuring everything out and getting it all together towards the end of the season. They were competitive, so I actually had them making it to the round of 30. I guess it would be round of 32 against Texas.
Yeah.
So everybody had Texas beating Colgate, I'm assuming. Anybody have picked Colgate as the upset?
No.
Anybody brave enough or drunk enough?
I've seen people campaigning for it because they have a guy that shoots like 49% from three. He's this tall, lanky white dude. But
Nick, I'm just showing you what we're sipping on this evening.
My man, that's what's up.
Yeah.
I learned something from my podfather.
I'll refill from the Stormtrooper decanter here
very
shortly,
nice.
So.
All right, so
nothing if not on brand.
All right, Nick. So the next round, Houston, Auburn.
Call it homerism, call it being an ob, call it what you want. This is my big one. I'm saying Auburn takes Houston.
Auburn in the upset.
They're going to get hot. They're going to get a little bit of Bruce Pearl magic. They're going to get a little bit of just, what Auburn has the potential to do when it comes to basketball if they show up, if they do their thing, if they, again, I love Bruce Pearl. I've been from day one, before we hired Bruce Pearl, I think you and I have talked about this, Jeff. When we were looking for a coach, the thing I said out loud to one of my friends was, if I could pick somebody that we would get, it would be Bruce Pearl. He was still doing ESPN stuff because he was still kind of out in the hinterlands. I didn't think that was actually a possibility. And when they got him, I thought, give him everything. Keep him. I think he's a good coach. He's a good man.
Yeah.
I think that Tennessee thing was a little bit bullshit, but, it is what it is. Everybody has things. The stuff over the last couple of years has been maybe partially him, maybe not. Like I said, I'm an Aub. I've been an Auburn fan since 1989. Take it for a grain of salt. Take it for what you will. But I think when the Bruce Pearl magic is working, and Auburn basketball certainly in the last several years has been something I haven't seen since I was in high school and college when we had, Doc Robinson and, a different era of Auburn
Chris
basketball.
Porter.
So, yeah, Chris Porter for
Chris
sure.
Porter.
Like if we can get in Mamadou,
Stretch.
all that kind of stuff, Fishback.
Oh yeah. I
But
remember those days.
sure, why not? I'm an Aub. Let's roll for it. So I'm picking Auburn on this one.
Look at this guy. Hey man, they'll be at home. There'll be a decisive Auburn crowd, I believe. So
Yeah, no doubt.
I mean, I could easily
we're
see
Birmingham.
I could easily see that happening. So I picked Houston, but I could definitely see Auburn upsetting Houston in this game.
Yeah, I've got Houston as well, but I could definitely see an upset there as well. I mean, obviously, Auburn being able to have the home crowd behind them is going to be a huge deal.
That's a huge part of it for sure.
And I'd like to just point out, Auburn hiring Bruce Pearl is why Alabama is where they're at today.
Completely agree.
It made us
agree.
have to actually invest in basketball and try to go get a coach and care about what we're putting out there on the court. And for a long time, Auburn and Alabama, or Auburn especially, did not invest in their basketball program. It was putrid for like 15 years.
It's garbage.
And once they hired Bruce Pearl, it sent an energy not only to Auburn but to Alabama to say, hey, the NIT is not going to be the standard anymore.
I wanted Alabama to hire. I wanted Alabama to hire Pearl when Auburn did. I was pissed that we kept Grant and then fired Grant the next year and let Auburn hire Pearl. I was like, this is year 6 of Grant. You know what you got. This is it. You can get Pearl now, punt Grant, and hire Pearl. I was on board.
I'll be the first to say, and I've said it before, I know football is king in this state, but if you made me choose between football or Bruce Pearl, I'm picking Bruce Pearl every damn day of the week.
Hey, man, this is the first time in my life that Bama basketball has been a legit contender. And it's a different excitement when your basketball team is making a run like this.
Absolutely.
And me not being an Auburn fan, when y'all made your Final Four run a few years ago, that was exciting for me that an in-state school had gotten that far. It was unheard of that Auburn or Alabama could even think of a Final Four in basketball. Who cares? As long as the football teams are winning, basketball's an afterthought. But getting to the Final Four, I mean, it set a new bar. And like he said, that's why we have Nate Oates, and that's why we paid him the money, and that's why we're where we are right now, was because of that run that y'all had in, what was that, 19, 18, 19?
19, yeah.
And they got screwed in the Final Four. Got totally
in that
jobbed.
Game. Oh
it's unbelievable.
Those pictures of Toomer's Corner after, though, with all the students, they make me pretty happy.
Yeah.
Fair. I can't be mad about it. It's fair.
Yeah, it's fair.
They're pretty funny.
I mean, all's fair in love and war, right?
Yep.
All's fair, but
I
that's too
recognize
funny.
what the score is. It's fine.
But y'all got jobbed. I'll say that. Y'all got jobbed that night or that afternoon. I felt bad for you guys that day.
But yeah, I'd picked Houston as well, but I've really gone back and forth on that game too. As I stated earlier, if the right Auburn team shows up, then they could make a deep run as well.
That would be an insane upset, though.
It would.
Houston got that early.
That'd be a Bruce Pearl type upset. He did it to us in, what was that, 2002, 2004, 2002 with our SEC championship team. I think we lost to in the second round to Wisconsin, Milwaukee, and he was the coach of that game.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that was 04.
Was that 04?
Yeah, I think
you're right. That was 04.
04. So we had a good team that year. We were 24-8 in 04. with Kennedy Winston. Man, we had a good team and lost to the Wisconsin Milwaukee and somebody named Pearl, some guy I never heard of before. So he's done this before. So this would not shock me. So well stated. So then we have Miami, Indiana, in Albany in the next round. I had who did I have in that game? I had Miami in that game.
Yeah.
No, I meant Indiana. I'm sorry, Indiana. I'm sorry. I had Indiana in that game
too.
I picked Miami.
Your Floridianness is bleeding through.
My Florida man pride.
I picked Miami.
That's right.
My bracket. I don't really know that much about Miami. I know that the ACC was down this year and that they performed well there. But yeah, I have them beating Kent State. Kent State's run ends in the round of 32.
FSU definitely contributed to that downward spiral for ACC. So
they had a heavy hand in it.
It was so bad.
All right, and then Mississippi State. Everybody had Xavier here, right? And then anybody pick Iowa State, or we all have the Mississippi State here in Greensboro. I think we all had Mississippi State beating Iowa State.
I got Xavier.
Xavier, that's who I had. I had Xavier winning this game.
I had Mississippi State beating Xavier. Like I said, making the Sweet 16.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you got Mississippi State making a Sweet 16 run. Very nice.
Yep. I mean, I don't think they're a perfect team, but I know that they can play some really tough defense. I mean, they almost got us at home this year.
Yeah, that's true.
And I mean, we had to crawl back into that game. So they're a team that they're not going to hit a lot of threes, but they're a team that's going to keep you, reasonably uncomfortable on offense, and that's their calling card. I mean, if you would have told me with a first-year head coach Mississippi State would even have an NCAA tournament team, I would have been, blown away by it. They're not a basketball school by nature, but they, I think there's always that 11 seed that makes the run. I think they're going to be the one. I don't think it's going to go all the way to the Elite Eight or anything, but Sweet 16.
Wow, Sweet 16. All right, and then you had Penn State, Nick, here. Did you have Texas beating Penn State?
I've got Texas, yeah.
Texas there, yeah. I had A&M beating Penn State and then facing Texas in the next round here in Des Moines.
Yeah, I actually have A&M beating Texas in the second round.
Me too.
Yeah, that's what I had.
Texas going to the next round, beating Xavier.
I've got A&M beating Texas. I just like A&M, and Texas. Not the Big 12 was great this year, and they beat Kansas in the conference tournament. I think they're like the 5th overall seed, something like that. But I also saw them get whooped by Tennessee, and I know that was on the road, but I just couldn't get the taste of that out of my mouth. And I think that's going to be an awesome game, though. A&M and Texas haven't played in football or basketball in
a minute, hasn't it?
a decade. So, I mean, this would be awesome if it actually falls that way.
That crowd's going to be insane.
That would be crazy. Yeah, and I had A&M beating Texas, advancing to play Xavier.
I just think when A&M plays right, they're a legit threat.
Yeah, I mean, I had in my bracket, I had A&M in the Final Four against UCLA. I mean, in my bracket that I turned in, I had them going all the way to the Final Four, beating Houston in the Elite Eight. That was my thing there. So who did you, Nick, who did you have coming out of the Midwest, out of this region in the Final Four, for the Final Four?
Well,
out of this region?
we end up at Auburn and Indiana, and
in the Elite Eight?
My Tiger. Huh? Yeah, is that where we are?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I end up with Auburn and Indiana, and I love my Tigers, but I feel like, the right end somewhere. I'm a classic Auburn underdog guy, so I actually do have Indiana beating Auburn in that round.
Finally, the Tigers' magic run ends in the Elite Eight.
Yeah. But hey, classic sandbagging Aub. If I'm wrong, I'll be excited about it, and we'll keep going. So,
yeah, I knew it the whole time. I knew it the whole time.
That's right. I called it. That's it. I
told you the whole time. Y'all doubted me.
Never doubted
it's not on tape at all.
Classic undersell.
Classic undersell. Andy Bernard. All right, so So you have Indiana coming out of here in your
I do.
for your
I've
Final
got
Four
Indiana
pick.
and Texas.
All right.
Texas beating Xavier.
Texas beating
Agreed.
Xavier, and then Indiana beating Texas to go to the Final Four.
Actually, I have Texas beating Indiana.
Same.
Okay, so you've got Texas
Same.
beating Indiana and Texas in
Yep.
the Final Four. All right.
Yep.
Agreed.
Parker's got Texas there as well.
Yes, I had Indiana beating Houston and Indiana versus Texas. Texas advancing to the Final Four.
Gotcha.
I
What
thought
about you,
picked
Cam?
A&M, Parker.
Huh?
I thought you picked A&M.
No. I picked Texas.
So you're
Which one? Parker's like 9 brackets. He filled in.
I've got like 12 brackets. What are you talking about? Make me remember which one. No, I've seen my statement on Texas was I agree with Cameron for the most part on the statements about Texas. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, they won their tournament, right? They beat Kansas in the Big 12.
Yeah, they
tournament.
beat him by 20 with an interim coach. Remember, because Beard got canned.
Well, but Kansas was also without Bill Self as
Bill
well.
Self, yes, yeah. I'm not talking about the
saying that had something to do with it, but
yeah.
Maybe.
I'm not saying that. I wasn't really even worried about that. I just thought that they were, very competitive in their conference, and they did play at Tennessee, but we could say the same thing about our showing against Oklahoma, who I think is a lot worse. And I don't even know, they're not even in the tournament. So, so there's, I mean, I think Texas, yeah. Oh yeah. I think Texas makes it to the Final Four and plays UCLA. So there's
you,
my,
Fonz.
I had Houston beating Indiana, but I flip-flop on this. I might change it because I like Indiana a lot. I think they're probably one of the most underrated teams going into the tournament.
Agreed.
They shoot really well. The Big Ten just doesn't get a lot of respect, in my opinion.
Didn't they beat Purdue twice this year? And that's the top of the conference.
Yes, and they shoot well. Like they're 37% from three. I think they're close to 49% from the field. Wow. They're a good team. If they get hot, Final Four, even national championship isn't out of the question. But
agreed.
As of now, at 7:45 on Tuesday, I have Houston.
And it can change 8 times since.
It can. Yeah, I'm telling you. I might change it.
Depends on how much whiskey you drink.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, a lot of decisions, right, Nick, happen depending on how much whiskey.
This is my school of thinking right here. So this man's not wrong. He knows what he's doing.
I've got Houston beating A&M. I think it's gonna be another Texas matchup, and I mean this A&M team. Like maybe I'm just high on them for no reason at all, but
yeah, that's what I'm
just
afraid
feel
of.
good about them. I don't know what it is, but I watched them play us and beat us in the regular season. I know that we smoked them. We put on our best game possibly of the season. I mean, not to include the ones where we won by like 57 or whatever, but against like a good opponent, I think that we played our best game of the season. We were
I agree with that.
clinic against them. They couldn't get shots up. Charles Bediako played unbelievably down low. JQ was awesome. We just played a really good game. But that A&M team is strong, and I think they're going to make the Elite Eight. I just think Houston.
They're good, man. They draw a lot of fouls, so if they hit foul shots, they're going to be in every game.
And I think Houston is one of those teams, like, we give them a hard time. Oh, they don't play in a real conference, and we beat them, on the road or whatever. That doesn't take away from the fact that they're a really good team. And back in the 2020 season, I remember I said the same thing. They were a 2 seed. We were a 2 seed. And they wound up making a run all the way to the Final Four that year. And I said, going in, Houston, who do they play? Like, they play in the American Conference. They're still a very, very talented team, one of the best teams in the country by far. And I think that it's going to be hard to beat them coming out of that bracket. I think Auburn probably has one of the best routes to do it just because based on the circumstances. But I think Houston's coming out of that side.
I think so too. I don't think I mentioned the Xavier A&M game, but I had Houston beating A&M for going to the Final Four. So
okay, see, I had A&M all the way in the Final Four. I had them beating Houston in the Texas Texas Elite Eight game, and then showing up in the Final Four. That's crazy. All right, so we're going to move on to the South region now, which is where obviously the team that the majority of us roots for is the Rolling Tide. So we can go ahead and just mark us all the way down here to this line here. This Final Four representative from this region. I think
It's unanimous.
I think the majority of us in this panel have picked the 1 seed to go to the Final Four. Nick's making a face, so I'll let him explain where he has Alabama bowing out.
I don't have anything to explain really, other than what you expect from an Auburn fan forced to choose a number 1 seed Alabama team. I gave, and it was hard. I'm not going to lie. Like it took some effort. It took some, getting outside of myself. And there's no science behind this. Let's be clear about this. I gave it until San Diego State, and then San Diego State wins and gets to San Diego State Baylor, and then we end up with Baylor Kansas State as one of my Final Four teams. So it is. I gave Alabama a run, probably more than I wanted to, but they're a 1
So you
seed.
got us bowing out in the Sweet 16. Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
It. That's where it lands. Sorry, pals.
You gave us 2 wins. I admit I'm impressed. You gave us 2 wins. I'll drink to that. Cheers. I'll drink to that.
Well, what's funny to me is, since we're on this bracket, I just wanted to kind of bring this up. But going into the SEC tournament, a lot of the conversation about Alabama is we were playing rough in those last 5 games of the regular season. Is this team, they're good, but they just have all these issues, probably based on this off the court stuff. After we won the SEC tournament, all of a sudden, all of the big talking heads on ESPN are all of a sudden Alabama's unbeatable. They're going on to win the national championship. Like it blows.
Like pump the brakes there.
The perception has changed, and here's
very beatable.
Alabama's can be the far and away number 1 team, or whatever the case people want to peg us as. And I hope we win our first national championship this season. I really do. But the reality is, in this tournament, anybody can beat except maybe the 116 matchup for the most part. But anybody can beat anybody. And I hope it doesn't happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if West Virginia or Maryland had a great game and possibly beat us in the second round. It's not out of the question. I do think this bracket sets up extremely well for us. I'm going to knock on wood, but it sets up well for us. And I think, as most of the media pundits have said, it really is the best bracket for a 1 seed. And that actually has nothing to do with us being the number 1 overall seed. That's not how they seed the brackets and pick the teams for it. It just kind of wound up lucking up that way. And the fact that we get those first 2 games at home, especially the round of 32 game, or not at home, but in Birmingham, is a major advantage. Less travel time. And we're talking about, teams that are having to travel there. They're not, we played there before, haven't played well there, but we played there before. I think that gives us an advantage. And, I definitely think Alabama's going to win that first game. And we don't even know who we're playing yet because it's going on right now. And it looks like Texas A&M Corpus Christi, they have a 2-point lead right now with 2:26. So
Left to play in the game or half?
Yeah, left to play in the second half.
Oh, okay. So it's getting down to the end. Okay. All right. What about Maryland, West Virginia? That's kind of a toss-up there. I had Maryland, but I really didn't know. That was a coin flip.
Yeah, I picked
Maryland.
Maryland as well.
With confidence, I picked WVU.
I don't disagree with that. I don't
I think
disagree
they're a
with that.
great basketball team for being 19-14.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
Just because
I
it's
went Maryland,
WVU.
and I didn't
I grew up
have a
here.
lot based on it other than seed at that point.
Yeah, I'm same, Nick. I was seeding. It was all seeding for me because I didn't know anything about either one of them. What about you, Parker?
I had Maryland. I'm going to go off what Scott said. This is one of those I've gone back and forth on. Actually watched a little bit of West Virginia this year, and I think they're a competitive bunch. But I picked Maryland in this game.
I got you. All right. So then, obviously, Nick, you've got San Diego State winning this next game because you've got them beating us. So
I do.
So
Yep.
I also had San Diego State. Not because I knew anything about either school. Once again, higher seed. Charleston, I imagine, plays a little bit lesser of a schedule than San Diego State does. So I just rolled with the five in there.
And just to follow my very nonsensical thread through the last little bit of that, down to the Final Four, for those of you that like to keep score at home, I am a long time, since probably 1998, I'm a longtime acolyte of Tony Kornheiser of PTI fame and ESPN.
I love Tony Kornheiser.
Have listened to literally every version of his radio show, his podcast, all his whatever. And for a long time, when he was back on ESPN radio back in the day, before the Dan Patrick show, before he came on, Phil the Show Killer was his producer.
Yeah.
And Phil would come on. Well, every time they got to bracket time and they would bring on all the different celebrities to pick brackets and all that kind of stuff, they would bring in Phil's mom. And Phil's mom would pick the brackets. And again, you expect, this is a lady in her 60s, 70s, whatever she is, and she's picking teams and she can't pronounce half of these names. And so she always picked, anytime Baylor showed up, she picked Baylor. That was what she picked, Baylor.
I remember that.
And, there were other ones like when IUPUI was in, she like EUPUE, like she was trying to figure out like how to pronounce, that school, Iona, all the different whatever. So Baylor, maybe not even for the fact that, they're seated as well as they are. There's that little part of me that's the non-sports science numbers related person, but that little bit of sentimentality. I'm like, Baylor has a chance to be good because, they're decent. And then it's Phil's mom. So sometimes I just pick dumb shit because of stuff like that. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, back to the 12-5 matchup at hand. Nick, it's going to be hard for San Diego State to beat us in the Sweet 16 because I actually have them bowing out to College of Charleston. And
oh wow, he went 12.
Yeah, so
Nice.
The 12-5 matchup, literally, like every single tournament, there's
there's one.
I actually think I saw the other day that supposedly, like, not the 12, maybe the 11-6 has the advantage over the last 20 years over the 6 seed. So the 5-12 matchup, and I always like, and you're going to see it later on with St. Mary's down the road in this bracket, but when those mid-majors play as like a 5 seed, I always pick the person against them. And I know for a fact, College of Charleston, y'all probably don't know a whole lot about them, but they're a team that can shoot the basketball. And that's going to could cause possible issues at San Diego State. And I think, like I said, that mid-major 5 seed always tends to struggle in the tournament. I don't know what it is, but I think that College Charleston's going to have their number.
Maybe on the side there.
I came on at the perfect time. And I was hoping I did not miss this game because I picked Charleston because of their shooting. They can shoot. And San Diego State, they defend very well. I don't know how much Cam said, but they defend very well. I learned this like 2 days ago. So
Same Scott.
But
I just got the press release.
State is very, very good defensively, but they cannot score. And we've seen it a lot in the past. UA Little Rock a couple years ago, I can't remember who they beat off the top of my head, but
they beat Purdue.
They were Purdue.
Yeah.
I believe it was Purdue, yeah. Not a good team in any other facet but shooting threes. But they hit threes at 39% clip. So they were just shooting the lights out that game. And I like the shooting teams. So
you know who the head coach of that team was? You know who the head coach of that Little Rock team was?
Oh, I have no clue.
Chris Beard, who's now the Ole Miss head coach.
Wow, Chris Beard.
Really?
Wow.
Chris Beard.
Pour one out for Chris Beard.
That's crazy.
That's funny.
I'll actually admit I actually just changed my pick on this one. I had San Diego State, but I've been because I haven't done enough research on all these teams yet. I did do, for Indiana, I did a little bit more because that's why I had them going so deep. But yeah, originally had San Diego State, but I've switched now to College of Charleston, and I have them playing Virginia in the next round.
I actually have them playing Furman in the next round.
Ooh.
Furman can shoot.
I was about to say, who picked Furman? Somebody picked Furman. I know they did.
I think you're alone there.
That's okay. They can shoot too. That's all I look at. Can this team shoot? In March Madness, that's usually what wins games.
Yeah, especially
the upsets.
Like if you're not a 3-point shooting team as like one of the lower seeds, you're not winning. If you can hit shots, if you have like a couple guys that are like 5'10", and that's all they do is go to the corner and shoot threes, then those are the teams that pull the upsets. And I think, Scott, that actually, I don't know if we've gotten everybody's 12-5 pick, but that Furman pick, I didn't pick them, but I thought the same thing. Virginia, just like San Diego State, is not a team that's going to put up a lot of points. They play a very good brand of defense, but they're not a three-point shooting team. They're not an offensive team. And Furman is. And I understand that they won the SoCon based on that. Sanford Bulldogs here in Homewood, they were the regular season champs, I think, with Furman, and Furman wound up pulling it out. But anyway, I think that's a potential upset. I didn't pick that, but I think that's a good call.
So one of the things just about Virginia, I looked the other day. I think they only have maybe one or two players that's averaging double-digit points.
That is correct.
Which is
not good enough.
Very concerning for me.
Yeah.
They have three. But even their depth scoring, it just doesn't look like they have a ton of guys that shoot well. So
I'll be honest, I went with Virginia because of brand.
That's fair.
That's literally and because of they won the national championship the year that they got the call on Auburn, right?
Was that 19 or 18? I can't. Did we discuss that earlier?
It was 19.
19. Okay.
Yeah, 18. I believe they lost to UMBC or something. UMCB in the first round. Yeah.
And that 18 season lives in my mind very well, not because of college section in Alabama, or not that 18 tournament. College of Charleston played Auburn in the first round. Auburn was a 4 seed, I believe, and Charleston was a 13 seed. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, like Auburn won at the buzzer in that game. It was like some kind of like crazy barely won it. And so it kind of made me think like, hey, Charleston's one of those teams. They're not going to play down to their competition. Like I said, I think that's a good upset.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't Cliff Ellis coach of that College of Charleston team? The old Auburn coach, Cliff Ellis?
No, I thought he was at Coastal Carolina.
Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. I got the CCs confused. Okay. You're right. I was like, college. I couldn't remember if it was college, but I knew it was two C's. I remember it was two C's.
So next game we had Creighton and North Carolina State. The old Creighton.
Man, Creighton can eat dog poop.
Jeff and I were talking about this.
That was a foul on Rutherford. Everybody knows it, except the stupid referee that was standing a foot away looking directly at it. Okay, there. Continue, Parker. My apologies.
I actually I had Creighton. I had them playing Baylor and actually upsetting Baylor.
Ooh, okay.
I actually like that pick. Yeah.
Just because they're another team. I've actually watched a little bit of them this year. They can shoot, but they also play good D. So that's gonna carry them pretty far. That's why I think that they have the possibility, if they can get past NC State, who I also think they're as Cameron said earlier, the ACC wasn't a really great year for them, but NC State was they're very competitive. So we'll see. But I had Creighton.
And did anybody pick NC State?
I did. I picked NC State.
Me too.
Hunter, did you say that you picked NC State?
I did.
Yeah. So my only thought process on it is like Creighton once again is one of those teams. They're not like a big brand team, and I don't like when those teams, the mid-majory type teams, play as a higher seed like that, or like a 6 and below seed. I just don't think it works out very well historically. And I've got NC State also just for brand purposes a little bit there too. I know Creighton's always in the tournament, but when's the last time Creighton's gotten past the round of 32? I mean, I don't know if they ever have. So I'm going NC State.
Fair.
All right. Baylor and the Gauchos of UCSB.
At Baylor.
Yeah, I rolled with Baylor.
Yeah, I had Baylor as well.
I think
Did
Cameron.
everybody have Baylor? Cam, did you have Baylor here?
I did.
That's unanimous.
Missouri, Utah State. I had Missouri.
I had Mizzou, Dennis Gates, and the Tigers.
I had Missouri too, but
Yes.
I also did.
this is another game I had a hard time with because I think Utah State is pretty
I
legit.
agree. In the end, I went with SEC grind over
Me
whoever
too.
Utah State played.
I don't think I had a
Aggies,
That doesn't
Come on
mean
now.
anything.
Do any of y'all
I
have
didn't
Mizzou winning the next round?
First round.
I've
Do you
got.
have who?
Mizzou winning the next round if you picked them?
I actually do.
No.
I
Yeah.
actually.
I've got them losing to Arizona in
So
the next game.
Me too.
So my thought is with Missouri, just like on the other bracket with A&M, like I don't think Missouri's a perfect team, but I think they were easily the most underrated team in the SEC this year.
We've always
Yeah.
struggled against
They
them.
went like 24-9. Like that's a pretty darn good season, and they're a 7 seed, and they beat some good teams this year. And I mean, I know we beat them in the SEC tournament, but they're one of those teams, just like A&M on the other side, that could really scare some people. And I think that they're good and talented enough. They had a bunch of like good transfer portal guys come in this year that really helped them. And
Yeah, I mean, they were like a 12-win team last year.
yeah, and so I think Missouri is a team that could definitely punch somebody in the mouth, and I actually think they're going to against Arizona in the next round. And actually, I've got them going further than that. So, let's see.
Oh,
So
really?
everybody's got Arizona beating Princeton, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Only 7. Is it 8 times in history that a 15 seed has beat a 2 seed?
I
I think
think.
it's eight times total. And last year, St. Peter's made it all the way to the Elite 8. That was the furthest they've ever made it. So it can happen.
All right. So then we've got – so who had the majority? Maryland and West Virginia.
I had Maryland.
Maryland.
Yeah,
I
Maryland.
had Maryland. You had okay. So then we had Bama, Maryland. I've got obviously Bama beating Maryland here. Does anybody not have us here? Not have us in the Elite 8? Or in the Sweet 16? Does anybody not have us in the Sweet 16? Sorry.
No, we're there.
Yeah.
If we play our game, we're there.
I told Parker today, if we play defense like we did this weekend, we're going to win the whole freaking thing.
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
That was magical.
I've
I mean,
got,
that was a defensive clinic that we put on in that tournament. And if we play like that, we will win the whole thing if we play defense like that.
yeah, I've got Bama beating Virginia in the Sweet 16 and then beating Missouri in the Elite 8. It's kind of Missouri's kind of my
Your
run
path.
team out
Okay.
of this, bracket.
Okay, so you had Charleston and Furman playing right here. Did you, Fonz? In the
I did.
second round?
And I had Charleston winning. That was actually a very hard one to pick because they're pretty much the same team.
So you got Bama and CFC in the Sweet
16.
16.
And here's the thing about that, Scott. Part of me is like, I'd love to play Charleston in the first round. Like, oh, that seems like or in the Sweet 16, that seems like a great, opportunity for us to whoop some ass in a mid-major team. But just like you said, those teams always come hot, and like we've got to get out and defend the perimeter. If they don't get the ball down low, we're beating the crap out of them. Well,
Oh, what was that, Cameron?
I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but anyway, they're a team that could be scary against
We
us.
win by a lot.
Hit the 3. If they're not hitting the 3, we're going to beat them bad. But
Well, they could easily – they're a team that there's 6 minutes left in the first half, and all of a sudden they're up 34-14
yeah,
for
They
whatever
start draining
reason.
threes, yeah.
But,
Yeah.
they've just hit all their shots. They're not generating a ton of shots, but they're hitting them. And,
well,
they win 78-74, but
yeah. Well, that's why UMBC beat Virginia in 2018. Is Virginia was this defensive-minded team, and UMBC just hit all their shots. I mean, it happens.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I mean, I think we would be okay against Charleston, but I've got us playing Virginia.
Correct.
I have us playing Virginia there. Parker.
Agreed.
I hope you're right, though, Fonz. That'd be a cool
Be
story
fun.
for CFC to get their ass kicked by Alabama. That'd be a great story.
would
And I think I had down at the bottom.
hang a banner.
the
Hang
bottom
Urbana.
part of the South. I think I had Creighton going pretty far, as I said, beating Baylor. So I had Creighton versus Zona.
Me too.
Oh wow! See, I had Creighton and Zona here. I had Baylor and Zona.
I had
Anybody
Baylor-
not have Arizona down here in the Sweet 16?
I had Baylor, Missouri in the Sweet 16 with Missouri winning.
Okay, so you got Missouri in the Elite Eight.
I got Baylor beating Missouri.
Okay.
All righty.
We got 2 more to go, boys. 2 more to go.
All right, Missouri. We got Baylor beating. Okay, so all right, so back here, so I had Baylor, Arizona. Who else had? Okay, you did not, Cam. Did anybody else have Arizona?
I had Arizona.
Did everybody have Arizona here in the Sweet 16?
I did.
Yeah.
Except for Cam, right?
I had
I had Missouri in the Sweet 16.
Oh yeah, I had Missouri. Yeah, that's right. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. Okay, and then y'all. All right, so you got Missouri beating Arizona in the Sweet 16. Okay, and then you had who had Arizona beating Baylor?
I had Arizona beating Creighton in the Elite Eight. So
Okay.
Scott, did you say in the Elite Eight you don't have Alabama making the Final Four?
No, he
I'm
meant
sorry.
to
I
get
have
to the Elite Eight.
to get to the Elite Eight. Yeah, I have Creighton beating Arizona in the Sweet 16.
Yeah, I mean, literally, like just looking at this bracket, it really does play out well for Alabama.
It does. And I've seen a lot of people say it's a very hard pool. I believe Nate Oates said that, but
Yeah.
I think Arizona
It's
is
not
the
the
only
hardest,
legitimate
but
threat.
there's some decent
So-
games in here.
I think if we have to play Baylor, that could be a really difficult game. Baylor's very battle tested. They're not as good as they were like last year or the year before, but
Yeah.
they're still one of those teams that they've had experience making runs. They have a coach that's won a national championship. That's always
Yeah.
tough to compete against. So
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I got
But everybody's got Bama coming out of this region, right?
Correct.
Yeah, that's what I had. Big shocker there. Podcast full of BAMs. All right. So then the next region, then we'll shift down to the east.
this is the best region. This is going to be the best.
Yeah,
region
there's
for us.
some
It is
there's
a
some
bloodbath.
stacks in here, man.
Yeah.
I mean, 1 through 6 is like all very,
Beast mode.
very.
Yeah. Parker's got Marquette going deep, or
I
one of
do.
them he did.
I do. No, it is this one. So we'll just start from the top. I had Purdue.
Purdue.
Same.
Yeah, I got pretty much.
Lurch is going to be unguardable to somebody from Texas Southern or Fort Dominion or whatever.
Well,
I mean,
and
Lurch
like-
is basically unguardable to everybody.
Well, Parker and I were talking about this day on the phone, but I know we kind of made the comment in our text group, like, oh, this guy, he should be really good. He's huge, whatever the case is. Well, Alabama's had some 7-footers before that have sucked. Okay? So it doesn't mean
No, we haven't.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah, dude, we had a
We
guy.
had Carl Engstrom for a couple of years. That guy was Kevin Love remade.
Yeah.
Electric.
So anyway, he is legitimately. Outside of Brandon Miller, probably different skill set, different types of players. He is unbelievable. I mean,
He's
in
good.
the Big Ten tournament, he had 2 straight games of 30-plus points. He's so hard to defend. Now, the key to defending
He's
him
4 feet taller than everybody else.
but he also hits his free throws. He's like the
That is
guy
true.
that you want playing in the post because he's going to get fouled a lot, and he hits his free throws, and he plays well down in the post. Obviously, he's a huge defender, and the reality is the key to stopping Purdue. The reason why they lost 5 games this year, every single one of those games, he got in foul trouble early, and they had to take him off the floor. And
He looks like the giant from Big Fish.
Yeah, once they take him off the floor, their guard play is not very good. And so they struggle to put up any kind of points. So it's interesting to see what will happen in that bracket with them. But I have them winning first round, obviously.
I agree with everything you said. And this is just me looking way ahead. I actually don't have Purdue going to the Final Four, but if Bama went up against Purdue and we had one of our games where we were actually shooting the ball well, I don't think Purdue
even
would really
close.
be that tough of a game
Yeah.
because
I agree.
they run everything
Through him.
through their center, and like you said, their guard play. I mean, our guard play is just on another level compared to theirs.
Yeah.
And they don't guard
clear.
particularly well on the outside.
If we shoot well, we will wax everybody.
Yeah. Well,
Oh yeah,
that's what Auburn did in 2019. They just could not miss from three, and it was like every shot they took went in. I mean, and that's part of winning.
If we get shooting like that, it's over.
Yeah. So, well, I'm pretty sure everybody has Purdue. Let's go ahead on to the 8-9 matchups.
Yep.
I think this is
Yeah,
most-
I had Memphis based on the fact that we played them this year, and Penny Hardaway. You know, in coin flip, I tend to go with the coach.
I agree.
So I went with
went
Memphis here.
I went with Memphis as
I went
well.
with Memphis.
Memphis.
But I will say, you know, it looks like just two mid-major type teams there in that 8-9 matchup, but both of those teams are incredibly capable, very good teams. And I think that's going to be just a great game on its own. I just think Memphis, you know, after them beating Houston this weekend in the conference tournament championship, and just the caliber of player they're probably getting and recruiting, I think that they're going to have a little bit of an edge there.
Memphis can play.
Good team. They have wins over Auburn, VCU.
Parker, there's somebody looking for you.
Parker does, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know what anybody's talking about.
That was too funny. Thank you, Joyce.
Out of left field. Where? Okay.
Yeah.
So that next game, I had Duke.
Yes, I had Duke as well,
I had Duke too.
beating Oral Roberts. Although a 30-win Oral Roberts team, if a 12 upset of 5, if Oral Roberts wins this game, I wouldn't be like, what?
Me either. Duke has actually had a tendency to drop some first-round matchups. Lehigh, Mercer, a couple years ago. And Oral Roberts, I mean, this is a team that went to the Sweet 16 a few years ago and I almost beat Arkansas to make it to the Elite Eight. They have some really talented players every year, and I think they've got one of the best guards in the country, if I'm not mistaken. Is that Masmus? I can't remember what his name is, but he's he's one of the most talented overall scorers in the country. Oral Roberts is not a team to take lightly, and they're one of those teams that could definitely pull an upset. I just think Duke, talent-wise, even though they're a 5 seed this year and the ACC was down, they're still Duke, and they're still going to be a threat in this tournament.
My thing about Duke this year, it's kind of like Kentucky this year too. It didn't start out the way it normally would, but they showed determination through the end of their season, and they ended up, I think they're pretty competitive. I think I had them going up against Purdue later on, but I'd have to check again. But I did have Duke, yes.
Yeah, same. And then I had Tennessee beating Louisiana in the 4-13 here.
Oh, I had Tennessee's basically my only SEC team that gets knocked out the first round.
Yeah, I've got them losing in the first round as well.
Yeah.
I love that. I really flip-flop between it, but I ended up picking Tennessee. I'd like to hear why you guys picked Louisiana, though.
Yeah, Hunter, you want to go ahead?
Hunter,
well, Tennessee lost their golden child. So
Tennessee's overrated too.
Yeah, they
only have them winning this one game.
Yes, they haven't really been overrated. So yeah, that's my one.
Same reasons for me. Tennessee they're one of those teams. They play some hella defense. Their offense is atrocious to watch.
Yeah.
Vescovi has been in. It feels like he's been in college basketball for 10 years, and they talk about him like he's.
It's not because he looks 35, definitely.
Well, they talk about him like he's this super stud, and it just seems like every time I'm watching him, he's bricking a bunch of 3-pointers. And I don't know. This Tennessee team, Rick Barnes has struggled in the tournament. I mean, he lost in the second round with Kevin Durant at Texas. So,
this is impossible. How do you do that?
I mean,
how do you lose in the second round with KD?
His teams they haven't performed great in the tournament long term.
I had him losing to Duke in the next round, but I did have him beating Louisiana.
But I will say Louisiana Lafayette, they weren't the team that won their regular season in the Sun Belt. That was Southern Miss. Everybody thought Southern Miss was going to win that conference. The only reason I know about it is because Troy plays in that conference. But anyway, Louisiana Lafayette, I think, is a good upset pick. I just Tennessee's not a team I trust.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, me
It's a
either,
good one.
really.
I actually I used this little tool just on like the bracket we used.
The auto pick
Just
thing?
interesting stuff. I mean, Louisiana is a much more efficient team than Tennessee. Offensively, they shoot at a much higher percentage,
Yeah.
and they rebound at a pretty similar clip. So, just
Tennessee's
interesting
massively overrated.
But
And they lost their point guard, so I could see them losing this game as well, but I had them winning one at least.
me too.
And then I had Kentucky over Providence here.
Same.
Not confidently, but begrudgingly.
I took Kentucky, same like I took Duke, playing better at the end of the year. Now I know they didn't do so hot in the SEC tournament, but
They caught a hot Vandy team, so
they did. They did. Who
did anybody have Providence?
Nah, I got Kentucky, and then I got them losing to Kansas State.
I wanted to, but Kentucky, I just think
Same.
is going to be too much. Now, I will say, Kentucky, there's some issues there. I mean, it seems like the John Calipari era. If they lose in this first round, he's probably out the door, possibly. I mean, their fan base seems to want a change there, and but
It's warranted.
Kentucky, I just think is Kentucky, and I think they're going to wind up winning that game.
Mhm.
Agreed. And then I had Kansas State over Montana State.
Same.
Me too.
Yeah.
Then I had Michigan State over USC.
I had USC in this one.
I've flip flopped
USC
so much
too.
on this one. Let me check and see what I've got it at right now. I could flip flop it again.
Merv,
I
what do
think
you
I
have?
have.
I picked Michigan, but they're pretty 50-50. I could go either
I'm
way.
going to stick with it. I'm going to say Michigan State right now. It could change by tomorrow. So
And then I had Marquette
same.
Yeah,
over
it's
Vermont.
Marquette too.
And then I had Purdue over Memphis
Same.
in the second round game.
Correct.
I actually had Memphis over Purdue. So
Oh, well, upset there.
yeah, I like Memphis. That's pretty much all that goes into it. But
Cam?
I have Purdue beating Memphis there.
Mm-hmm.
I also had Purdue beat Memphis.
Then I've got Duke beating Lafayette in the University.
Yeah, I had Duke beating Tennessee, but I did have Duke advancing to the Sweet 16 to play Purdue.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had Kansas State over Kentucky.
Oh, I didn't. I had Kentucky here.
I had Kentucky as well. And I had Duke beating Tennessee.
I had Kentucky end up winning that game over K-State playing Marquette.
All right. So okay, I'm sorry. You had Kentucky, Parker?
I did.
I had K-State. Murph, you had K-State?
I did.
Cam had Kentucky. Who'd you have, Scott?
Kentucky.
All right. So Kentucky wins the majority. And then I had Marquette beating Michigan State. I know you did, Parker.
I had Marquette beating USC, but same difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had Marquette
Yeah,
winning in the
Well, I had Marquette there.
so.
And then I had Purdue over Duke.
Correct.
then
Actually, I had Duke over Purdue.
So
I'm
do
looking
I.
at the thing.
So,
Oh, wow.
I had Duke over Memphis.
So we got
there you
three
go.
Dukes on here. Okay.
Yeah.
And then I had Marquette beating Kansas State, but
Same. I had
or
Marquette
Kentucky,
beating
but we all
Duke.
had Marquette.
I have Kentucky beating Marquette.
Me too.
It's
Me
so
too.
weird. This is not based on the brand. I really think it is more to the matchup. I think Kentucky, once again, talent-wise, if Oscar Shibwe is playing on, they're going to be tough to beat. And like Marquette, great. They're a basketball school. Like, don't get me wrong, but are they recruiting the same type of talent Kentucky is?
No.
And like that doesn't mean that they can't beat them by any means. I think it's going to be a blue blood matchup in the Elite Eight, Duke versus Kentucky, and I think Duke takes it. And Duke, even in their down years, even Kentucky, even in their down years, is always a threat in March. They know how to win, and it's part of it.
Jeff, was it just you and Fonzie that picked Tennessee winning the first round?
I believe so.
Okay.
I had Tennessee. Fonz, does anybody else have Louisiana?
Yeah.
No, I had Tennessee.
You picked Tennessee too, Parker?
I did.
Oh, okay.
I feel like when they beat us, they just struck the iron hard. It was like the perfect moment for them to beat us.
Everything lined up, including the referees.
Just going back to the whole Duke Kentucky thing, kind of went back and forth because of the blue blood, but pretty much everything Cam said is exactly what I was thinking too. And John Calipari has a great tournament record. Shaka Smart hasn't won in the tournament for a long time at Marquette and at other schools. I just think Kentucky can surprise some people, if that's the right word.
Mm-hmm.
So I had Purdue Marquette in the Elite Eight. I think you had who did you have, Fonzie? Duke and who?
Memphis. And I had Duke
And Memphis.
Duke
What about you, Cam?
I've got Duke over Kentucky.
So I got 2 Dukes. What about you, Murph?
I got the same as you, Jeff.
Purdue and Marquette.
Yeah.
Parker?
Duke and Marquette.
I have Duke and Kentucky. If I didn't make that clear.
All right. So
Duke
Duke
winning.
wins the majority there then, right? Did I calculate that right?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Duke out of that bracket out of the East.
So, all right. So
Now
then
the West.
last one. Let me pull up the correct bracket and we'll drill down the West.
I'd just like to say, at least based on the looks of it, this is the least exciting bracket to me. That doesn't mean that it doesn't have potential to be great, but it's just I don't know. I wasn't as excited about picking this side.
I think we all have Kansas here.
Correct.
Yep.
I had Arkansas over Illinois.
I also picked
Same.
Arkansas.
Same.
I picked Arkansas. Yeah.
Okay. Then I had let's see, and then I think I had VCU over St. Mary's.
So did I. St. Mary's is a good team, but I mean, I feel like VCU and St. Mary's are very similar brands. They're like those mid-major teams that make the tournament. You don't expect them. I mean, they can both have the potential to make runs, but I think, once again, the mid-major and the 5 seed always tends to be an upset. And I think VCU is a good team that's been to the tournament many, many times, knows what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I went with. Anybody, who else picked VCU?
Me.
All right, so majority wins there. Then I had UConn over Iona.
Same.
Same.
Yep.
Super dangerous game, though. Super
Very.
dangerous game.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Rick Pitino, that Iona team always is like just
they're a
competitive.
nightmare.
Didn't they beat us last year?
No, they took us.
They beat us last season in the preseason tournament. or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, I knew.
Okay.
I remember them beating us.
And we beat them
I
in 2020 in the first round of the NCAA tournament.
I'm about to
And
say
it
we
was
beat
only
them in the tournament one of those years.
Yeah, we beat them in the tournament, but it was a closer game than
Yeah,
people-
they gave us all we wanted in our SEC championship year 2 years ago.
Mm.
All right, then I had TCU over the play-in winner here.
Same.
Yep.
I've got Arizona State, I think, beating Nevada tomorrow, and Arizona State beating TCU.
Oh wow, there's an 11-6 upset. And then I had the Zags here over Grand Canyon.
Same.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then I went with my roots here, and I went Boise State over Northwestern.
I went with Boise as well.
I went
That's
with-
my
I went with Northwestern.
that's my
So did I.
Boise
did
State
I.
blood.
And I feel like this matchup is why I don't like this bracket. I feel like all the other 7-10 matchups are like good matchups, like where I could see the 7 seed or the 10 seed making a little bit of a run. This one I
Yeah.
don't. Northwestern I think is going to win, but they're not going to make it out of the second round.
This is definitely like the safest prediction.
And then I got UCLA coming out of here.
Yep.
All right, so then back up here, then Kansas, Arkansas.
I had Kansas.
I have Kansas winning that.
Same.
Same.
It's okay. I actually picked Arkansas, but majority wins here. But
Part of me hopes that Arkansas does.
I picked Arkansas mainly just because I want to see Musselman fight some more refs.
Yeah.
That's always amusing after every single Arkansas game to watch Musselman have to get separated by his assistants from the referees. That's always amusing to me.
Yeah, so Arkansas, a lot has been given to Eric Musselman over the last couple of years for making 2 straight Elite Eight runs, and I give him credit because we've only made it once in our history. But both of those runs, I didn't think were actually very impressive. Like there were a lot of upsets both the years that they really kind of took advantage of, and still didn't play well against like the upset team, and things kind of fell their way. That doesn't mean they're not talented. I just think Kansas is a little bit too much. They went 17-7, I think, or 17-4 in quad 1 games. I mean, that is a ridiculous stat.
Mm-hmm.
So I think
my determining factor was Nick Smith.
Yeah, but I mean, has Arkansas looked reasonably better since he's come back on the floor? No, they've been the same inconsistent team they've been all year.
But when you get in the tournament, if you've got that guy, or you've got a guy like that, you can pull an upset.
Definitely not saying it's impossible. I just think this is too much.
No, I think you guys are right. I mean, it's Kansas is a better team. I just have Arkansas in that upset there.
Yeah.
All right, and then UConn VCU. I have UConn winning that game.
Same.
I picked Kansas.
And then you have Kansas beating UConn.
I do.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
What about Gonzaga TCU?
Gonzaga.
The Zags.
I have the Zags
as well.
I think Gonzaga could be a really dangerous team due to the fact they're not like the 1 seed Gonzaga. Like maybe they come in with a little bit more.
I wouldn't mind busting their ass up too.
Yeah. Well,
they have a ton of talent. People are kind of
the
counting them out because they've kind of floundered this year, considering what they normally do. But
and then I had UCLA
threat,
beating Gonzaga here.
Same.
I have Gonzaga actually.
I do too. Yeah,
I picked Gonzaga.
There,
So
majority wins. So Zags get it.
Wins. All right, and then I had UConn beating Arkansas, but I had UConn in the Elite Eight.
I have UConn beating Kansas.
I have UConn beating Kansas as well.
All right, so majority has UConn.
We must have picked almost the exact same bracket.
Yeah, no, outside of the South.
Yeah.
Outside of the Furman picks.
Yeah.
Who do we have playing Indiana in the Elite Eight? Do we have Texas A&M, Xavier? I don't remember that.
I had A&M.
Yeah, I picked A&M.
I had A&M.
Okay, I did too, so I know majority wins that because I had A&M in the Final Four.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we have Bama. We had Bama, Virginia in the Elite Eight. That was a majority. It was Bama, Virginia. Obviously, we have Bama winning that game. I'm sorry, Bama, Arizona.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we had Bama winning that game. Then Duke, Marquette.
Yeah, I've got Duke winning.
I had Duke beating Kentucky, but same difference. Yeah.
Duke. What about you, Murph?
Yeah, I was a big Duke.
I had Marquette, but it doesn't matter.
I had Purdue, so I'm out. So majority wins the Duke pick there. All right, and then UConn and Gonzaga.
UConn. I've got UConn.
I had Gonzaga.
I had Gonzaga. Yeah.
That's a tough pick in general.
Yeah. They get flip flop.
I had a UCLA in it, and I had UCLA going to the Final Four, so my pick is irrelevant.
Same. I had UCLA as well. All right, so then Gonzaga wins 2-1 in that majority. And then Indiana and Texas A&M. I had Texas A&M.
I've got Houston coming out of that side.
I got Houston.
I have Houston coming out, but if I have to pick one, I'm going to pick Indiana out of those two. So,
how about you, Parker?
I had Indiana.
Indiana. Okay, so Indiana's majority. All right, so our Final Four then is Alabama, Duke, Indiana, and Gonzaga. That is our official Final Four for the podcast bracket. So obviously, we've all got Bama beating Duke then, right?
Yeah, I really don't want to see Duke there.
I was going to say
game. If that's
if that's Alabama, but that's not a game I necessarily think would win.
If you want to be bathed in the Blue Bloods really get your recognition on a full year of just beating dominant teams and being the best year for Bama basketball ever. That would be a great game. However, I do agree with both of your opinions. I would be very nervous playing that Duke team in that game.
Not to.
So, yeah, it'd be pretty interesting to see, but we'll see. We'll see.
That'd be something. And then Gonzaga, Indiana in the other Final Four game.
Yeah, I have UConn, Houston. I have UConn winning that one. Partially just because I don't want to see Houston in Houston against us. So, but what a rematch. Alabama played UConn like game 2, 3 of the year. So we lost, considerably actually. So it'll be interesting. So it's Gonzaga, Indiana are the choices for that side though. I would say Gonzaga.
That's what I would say. I'd probably choose.
I'd probably pick Gonzaga too.
Bama, Gonzaga in the championship game.
Another rematch.
Bama, baby. Bama wins
Big time.
Yep.
I mean,
I would say Bama wins that.
Bama all day.
Yeah, I've got Alabama beating UConn 78-71. That's my pick.
I have Bama beating Houston 77-73. I don't know how Houston's going to get to 73, but
yeah, the more interesting question: what's the tiebreaker?
I don't know.
Tiebreaker is to guess the score, I guess.
Yeah. Like
I had Alabama actually beating UCLA in the national championship. A little revenge from a couple years ago.
All the way in there?
I did. I had UCLA making it all the way.
Dang, yeah.
So, but
I had UCLA and Bama in the championship game, and us winning a little payback for 2 years ago.
Karma for the ball hitting Jalen.
the shorts.
Karma for us missing 15 free throws.
Yes.
Too.
The game
And
I
that
wanted
was-
to be so mad at the refs, but I'm like, you know what? You make 10 of those, we don't get in this position.
The ghost of Reese being like, yes.
The ball hitting his shorts. Get at it.
Yeah.
I thought I'd seen it all until I saw that.
Well, we're playing Texas A&M Corpus Christi, by the way.
So it's settled?
Really matters that much. I watched the whole game. I don't think we have a whole lot to worry about with either of those teams anyway, but they're not great. So
This squad seems focused. Like I don't see a colossal upset with this team. They're just too focused, man. They're too they love playing for each other too much. They pick each other up too much. Like there's just something about this group. I don't understand. It's hard to put into words, but
I got one great for y'all to ponder on. How about this?
something about this team.
Of all the things that have happened so quick in Alabama basketball, and I think Cameron and Jeff, Jeff, you being older than us, and Cameron being a huge Bama fan, to even state that all of us are in agreement that Alabama has the chance to even play for the national championship in basketball.
The fact
much
we're
less
even
get to
discussing
it,
this,
or Final Four, that is just
the fact that we all picked Alabama to win a bracket, even though we're all giant homers and we understand this. But it's not a far-fetched pick. It's not like, every year I would do one bracket where I'd pick Alabama to win, even though we were, 19-14.
But I will tell y'all, I've still got this feeling in my gut. It reminds me of like 2008 Alabama football, right? Where we were playing well, but I still had that thought in the back of my mind, like, when we get to Florida, are we going to beat them? Are we going to be able to actually pull through? And we didn't that year because we were still learning how to win. We were still learning how to get to that point and break through. And, that's why, you kind of got to take it in phases a little bit. If Alabama makes an Elite Eight run and it ends there, I'm happy with that. I mean, I'm not happy with the circumstance. But the thing is, my thing is, in this tournament, anything can happen. Upsets happen all the time. And, all the teams we're going to come up against are good teams. They wouldn't be in the tournament.
And I think you said that earlier, Cameron, you and I, where we were talking on the phone, is usually the best team does not win March Madness. It's not the champion. I mean, it does happen more times than not, but usually the best team does not win it all.
I mean, who's ever playing the best?
I was
We're
undefeated.
playing pretty well.
Got their ass
But
whooped.
This isn't this is not a shot at the women's bracket, but this isn't the women's tournament where the number one seed typically
UConn.
it's an upset if they don't win. You know what I'm saying? Like South Carolina is expected to win the NCAA championship this year. Like,
yeah, there's my women's bracket, which there's the champion, South Carolina. Really went out on a limb there.
Yeah, you're not really going out on a limb. In men's basketball, anybody can beat anybody. Upsets happen all the time.
Yeah.
Alabama isn't subjected to that this year. But the reality is, like, I want to see us make it to the Final Four and break through that barrier. And then I'm sure once we get there, I'll be like, hey, now it's national championship time, But I'd like to see us break that wall and then go from there. So,
I think it's just crazy in general about just the consideration of us being able to actually compete in a March Madness. Like,
right.
We actually
not a contender.
A
but
contender,
see,
not a pretender. It is if we come to play, we can contend with anybody on the court. So,
well, I mean, for the longest time, the era of Alabama basketball was, if we can make the tournament as
exactly.
a 9
those days are over.
That's a good
year.
Like,
agreed. That's got to end.
I'm saying an Elite Eight run's not good enough. Not when you've got this guy on the team. That 2008 football team didn't have this guy. If Bryce Young is on that 2008 team, we don't have to worry. It's not a question of, well, we need to lose this game before we can win it. No, we win the game because we got the best player. And this team has Brandon Miller and nobody else does. And that's why I think we're the best team and we're going to win this whole freaking thing because we got that guy and nobody else does. Now, Lurch is a threat. I'll give you that. Lurch is a threat. But you can neutralize him with strong defensive play with Bediako. But Miller can beat you in 6 different ways.
But we don't have to worry about Purdue for a while. Like, our biggest focus needs to be the Baylors of the world.
Agreed. I was jumping way ahead.
Yeah. Now I will say, like, I was thinking about this today on the car ride home from work, but if we win this national championship, I think all of a sudden they're going to be able to find the money very quickly to build a new
Oh, I imagine they will.
Like, all of a sudden,
it'll be built before next season.
That was not there anymore. Whatever the case is, the prices went way higher. I guarantee you, there's going to be the money found the week.
Look,
they'll be breaking ground in the summer.
We're not bringing the trophy back to this dump here, okay? So this thing needs to be built by the time we get back from Houston.
Yeah. And I will say, I think this is just the beginning. I think the Herb Jones, John Petty senior year was really the beginning.
Yeah.
But I will say that, like, Nate, as long as he's the head coach at Alabama, is going to continue to recruit well.
Yeah. That's why they locked him up.
Now, the biggest thing that he needs to do
extension.
The biggest thing he needs to do at this point is recruit better shooters. I know that's hard to do. Like, it's not everybody has the ability in high school to hit, 33% of their threes. But I will say, like, I think he's kind of had this mode of trying to develop shooters, and that doesn't always work out so well. I'm hoping, like, this is just the start, and we're talking about years to come of Alabama basketball success, and we're up there with Kentucky competing on a year in, year out basis.
Yeah, I think we are. I mean, Nate's a relentless recruiter, relentless worker. I mean, I think this is the standard now. He's set the standard now. Like,
question:
we have goals and we can legit compete in this big tournament. We're built for it. 10, 11 deep.
Calipari have? Does he have
how many
2
what?
championships? Does Calipari one?
The Anthony Davis one at Kentucky. That's it. Because they lost to Kansas when he was at Memphis because Derrick Rose missed those free throws at the end of that game, and then they lost in overtime.
Yeah, he made a Final Four at UMass, I believe, as well.
Yeah, because he lost to Rick Pitino in Kentucky when he had Marcus Camby.
Yeah,
on the UMass
he
team.
lost with John Wall and Boogie Cousins. And back was that 09?
Yeah, that was They didn't even make it to the Final Four that year. I think they lost in the Elite Eight.
Virginia beat them in the Elite Eight. But I will say, like, that, but John Calipari only has one national championship. He's been one of the top coaches in the country forever. That tells you how hard it is to win this thing.
Yeah.
I was going to say, he has 5 or 6 Elite Eights. And,
I mean, that one year he was undefeated and then ran into Wisconsin.
Semifinal, so.
Yeah. I mean, so it is one of those things that can be a toss-up at times. You know, that's why it's I hope that this is a consistent thing for us going down the road. And I will say, you know, a lot of people talk about Texas, Oklahoma joining the conference and what that'll do for football. But my thought automatically goes to what it does for all sports. Because, like, think about Texas and Oklahoma. Those are two basketball brands.
Oklahoma softball is a whole nother thing, man.
Baseball. I mean, just all the way around all around, it really will. I mean, the SEC is going to be a premier basketball conference, bringing those two teams in. So it's exciting, and you know, I'm looking forward to the future of SEC basketball with the coaches.
Me too.
I'm too. I mean, this league's got some really good coaches. Beard's coming to Ole Miss. I know Will Wade just got a 5-year deal with McNeese State, but he will be back in the SEC before that contract's up. I mean, I'm
He'll be somewhere.
all but guaranteeing that.
Yeah.
He's already suspended for the first 5 games of next year, though.
It'll serve him well.
I mean, if that was all he was going to get at LSU, man, they look like idiots right now. I'll tell you.
Well,
yeah, I don't think that was all he was going to get at LSU. I think a lot of people were going to pay the price at LSU.
He was under fire for like 3-4 years, and they
was. It was a new controversy.
Well, the football team got on the radar, and so somebody had to get clipped. So they said, "Hey, we'll clip this guy if you won't bomb us with penalties on the football side." And so they were lenient on the football side for the price of them firing Wade.
Mm-hmm.
And then they hired this Yahoo from Murray State.
I was watching the end of the Penguins get embarrassed. So I kind of missed what Cameron said about Alabama, but I need to reminisce for a minute and just talk about Alabama basketball. So 2 years ago when they lost to UCLA, that was a tournament where that's what I kind of expected. I kind of expected us to lose to UCLA at that point. In the tournament, I didn't think we were a Final Four team or an Elite Eight team, but I mean, this team is unreal, and it is crazy to think that Alabama basketball has a legitimate shot at a national championship.
I agree.
It's just crazy.
Look at the Houston game. Brandon Miller did not score a field goal against Houston. He had 8 points. They were all from the free throw line.
And what's crazy is he walked to the line and sunk 8 free throws at the end of that game, or 6 of them at the end of that game to ice that game. Like,
he did.
Just ice in his veins, man.
I mean, he was a non-factor offensively for most of that game. And, you know, we went up against the best defensive team in the country and beat them without our best player scoring any points.
Think about this. This is a way different Brandon Miller than played in that Houston game. I mean, think of
we've improved since then.
The beast that they'll encounter if we face them again. They won't have seen this guy before.
Well, there are 2 things that I think really set this team apart, and one of them is the fact that I never feel like we're out of the game. I mean, how many times over the last 8 games did we have to come back or fight for our lives and do it successfully?
Yeah.
Like that is a trait of a great team, a team that doesn't give up, don't let things get in their pathway. When we don't hit the 3, we still find a way to win the game. And another thing is I've seen all year teams try to take Brandon Miller away, and some teams have been very successful.
Do it.
Auburn managed to do it pretty successfully, but at the end of the day, when you talk about our depth, even if those players aren't playing great, you're talking about several players that can put up double digits potentially and impact the game in scoring to help, kind of get around taking him out of the game. And as long as he's on the floor, he's a threat, and they're going to try to double team him and guard him. That means somebody's going to be open. And if that is Javon Quinterly right now, after the way he played in the tournament championship, I would be scared to have him coming off the bench if you're double teaming Brandon Miller, because that man is going to drive.
No, he's starting the rest of the way.
Yeah, well,
And
He'll be starting in this tournament.
He's a guy you don't like starting. Like,
yeah,
that is a great college basketball player, and the fact that he was even coming off the bench is just.
Oh, I know.
It's crazy.
Depth is just insane. This team's depth is
I was
just
telling Parker,
ridiculous.
legitimately, he just due to the teams he's been on, might be one of the greatest Alabama basketball players of all time because of the impact he has had over the last few years. And I will say, it's not because he's the guy that he's going to win every game for you, but it seems like when we need him to win the game for us in the most important games, he's the guy who just manages. He's that guy. He's not afraid. He's not a big guy, but he's not afraid to drive it to the hole. He gets fouled a lot. He makes his shots at the free throw line, and he's always a threat from deep as well. And so, I mean, that man,
We've never had anybody like this dude.
Yeah, he might be the X factor for us.
We've never had a player like this guy. We've had good shooters. We've had good skill players. We've never had somebody that can kill you, that can just assassinate you from any spot on the floor. Threes, free throw line, block, passing the ball. His passing is ridiculous. Now he'll let a lazy one go every now and then, but his vision and his anticipation when he passes the ball is, I mean, I've never seen somebody that tall and big that like a primary scorer that can dish like that. I mean, like LeBron James is a freak because he can pass so well, but Brandon Miller's 6'9", he can see over everybody, and he delivers good passes.
But I think Brandon Miller's obviously an important player for us going forward. I think the two X factors legitimately are Javon Quinterly and Charles Bediako. If Charles Bediako, if he plays the way he did against A&M every single night, it's going to be hard for anybody.
Mad Chuck is what we call that guy.
He was blocking shots left and right, was rebounding like crazy, was taking alley-oops. I mean, he missed a couple and then got his own rebound and made them. But, like, that man, if he is in a position where he can contribute a little bit on the offensive side, which he did against A&M, and he's playing the defense that he played, I mean, that is a big thing to have a 6'11" guy like that.
If Q can play like the way he did last game as opposed to the game before, I also think
look, man, I call him good Q. There's good Q and bad Q.
It's like 50.
Bad Q shows up in the tournament. We're out in the first weekend. We won't make it out of opening weekend.
Well,
if good Q shows up, we got a shot.
Well, I think Parker was going to say the X factor was probably going to be Mark Sears.
That's what my thought was going to be.
Because
he's lost it.
Like, if you can just get a little bit out of what he used to be, I guess, down the beginning of the SEC stretch, like, I mean, once again, that's just another player. He's just, gosh, I don't know.
Something happened. I don't know
what happened to him. But he won't drive to the hole either. You know, he used to be great at driving the ball.
He will pull up at half court for like a wide open three.
It's necessary.
It's nuts.
I mean, he'll pass up layups. I mean, he'll dribble under the basket.
Well,
and keep going out, back, out and around.
He'll do a U-turn and make sure that he goes down deep.
Who would you rather have right now, Jalen Bradley or Mark Sears? Though I mean, Jalen
Sears.
Bradley.
Sears. No question.
And like both of those guys, once again, if we can just get a little bit out of what they were in the opening SEC stretch, both of those guys, I mean, how do you beat us? I wouldn't know if there's even a way to do it. The thing is,
there was a 5-game stretch that Sears was averaging at least 10 to 12 points.
Yeah,
at minimum.
I would have guessed 15. He was lights out for.
That's what I don't know. It could have been 15. I know for 10, he averaged for 5 games. I know, and it was right after Christmas, or it might have been a little right about. Anyway, in that time frame, he was averaging at least 10 points and had 4 or 5 assists. I'm like, where did this guy go?
Yeah,
but it would be complete if agreed with Cameron's point about Bediako. I know I've been really hard on him all year, but as I said, if he can be consistent on the defensive side, get rebounds, stay out of foul trouble. That's a big thing because they will try to foul him out of the game because we don't have anybody else down low like him. We have a bunch of power forwards versus a center.
That's what made the SEC tournament so impressive to me. The final game, we were in foul trouble early. I mean, Brandon Miller 3 fouls in the first half. I think.
Okay, right?
No, Clowney had 3 fouls.
Yeah, Clowney, that was also 3
fouls.
Killing me with these charges on Miller.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. I was listening to the radio. Chris Stewart was about to have a heart attack.
Now, some of them were questionable, but a couple of them were like Miller gave him no choice almost. The way he leaned in, the way he just lowered his shoulder and charged in a couple times. Like, they're going to call a charge every time like that. So I was more upset that he didn't stop and go up straight, like he kept leaning into the guy, and A&M takes charges better than anybody.
Well, gentlemen, I got to bust out of here. I don't know how much longer of a conversation we're going to have, but
it's all good.
All right, peace out, guys.
You good, Cam? At least he said bye this time and didn't just leave right in the middle of the goodbye speech.
Well, goodbye. Well, all right then.
It was like, Cam did say, okay, and Cam's gone. All right.
And he's gone, and he's gone.
It's good.
But yeah, does anybody else have any further notes for this week?
No, dude, this is a good show. I like breaking down the.
Yeah.
I like breaking down.
I just want to say, Carlos Bediako, he's an X factor.
Yes.
Like we've been talking about, but we fed him a lot against A&M. And he scores when he gets the ball. I know a lot of that.
Even when he misses the first one, he always gets his own rebound.
Yeah, just feed him a little bit. I know we live and die by the 3, and that's fine. Our defense is good enough to do that, but I mean, he's a legitimate threat in the post, even though he's not strong.
Yeah, you've got to count for him. If you leave him, Lob City.
He's going to be big in the tournament, so
he can finish. Agreed.
Yeah, I just wanted to end with even with the game against South Carolina, to give a great example of the magic of Brandon Miller, is that even with all the off-court drama, what should have been Brandon Miller's worst game turned out to be one of his greatest. I think really speaks to his character and how even at our lowest, Brandon Miller can still just kill it.
Mm-hmm. I don't think you could say it any better there, Fonz or Hunter. Don't think you could say it any better.
We need to soak up these hopefully next 6 games with Brandon Miller, because we're not going to see a guy like that again. We'll see good players come and go. We'll see some one and dones come and go, but I don't know that we'll ever see somebody like this guy. I mean,
agreed.
Just a total privilege watching this guy play for 34 games.
And even though it was better losing to UCLA those years ago, this will actually hurt if we do not win. So
this will hurt bad.
Yeah, this will actually sting, because even
Elite Eight's not good enough. We're a better team than an Elite Eight run. This team is championship or bust skill level. We're good enough to be. Elite Eight would not be good enough for this team, in my opinion. That 2004 team made an Elite Eight run, and this team would beat that team by 30 points. So Elite Eight's not good enough. That's not the standard. Is championships. And if you got a once-in-a-generation player on a team that's 11 deep, that everybody's bought in, I mean, special things can happen.
I agreed.
So here's the special things. My last swig of liquor, and that's how we know the show's over. And Fonzie dipped.
And he's gone.
Yeah.
Get out, Fonzie.
Alrighty.
Yeah, so good show, guys. I really enjoyed the banter. I really enjoyed the breaking down the bracket. This was good stuff. So I appreciate you guys taking an hour and 40 minutes out of your evening. I got to go put my son to bed, so I'm sign off here.
I can't wait for the following weeks when our brackets
So,
fall apart.
by the way, I meant to say this earlier. Next week, I'm out of town next week, so y'all can do the show next week, or we can reconvene in 2 weeks, hopefully, and talk about Bama's run to the Elite Eight.
Agreed.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So anyway, roll Tide, fellas.
Roll Tide.